Hello, 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 everyone. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to today's show. I can't tell you, I've gotten lots of calls about today's show. We have an amazing guest. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Dr. Betty Speaks, and I am a that lifetime imprint leader. I'm extremely passionate about empowering individuals to resurrect and establish themselves through the four components of life, which are spiritual growth, financial literacy, personal development, and professional development. I am that chosen warrior who inspires others to create an imprint that will live on long after they are gone. I hold virtual workshops for either groups or families on leaving an imprint. I will help you understand the importance of rising above your life encounters and how you shall start facilitating simple things into your life just by getting rid of the stress that plagues our nations. So thank you for tuning in today. It's a Father's Day special. This is that intentional, motivational plus inspirational show that will be filled with wisdom that will awaken your hope, your ambition, your faith, and inner strength. Plus, cover a variety of genuine, life changing topics designed to encourage listeners that are worldwide. You know, strength doesn't come from what you can do, it comes from overcoming the things you once thought you couldn't. So, I have an amazing guest with me today. He's like waiting in the waiting in the guest room for me to bring him on. Let me tell you, today we'll be talking about the fathers and sons and their relationship. And this young man, he just gave me a new acronym for him today, and it's D to the third power, or there's another D that he gave me, but I'm going to move out of the way so I can allow this young man to come on and introduce himself to you. Give us 1 second. Hey, Darren, are you there?
I'm here, Dr. Betty. How you doing?
Oh my goodness, what a pleasure and honor to see you here in the flesh. I'm honored to be graced with your presence. I didn't want to read your bio to anyone. I just want you to tell us, Darren, who you are and what it is that you do. We have amazing individuals that are tuning in. And for those that are tuning in, just share with us where you're tuning in from, and go ahead and not like and share, but love and share. Go ahead, Darren.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Man, this is a fantastic opportunity. Dr. Betty, first of all, thank you so much for who you are. Thank you so much for, having the courage and the vision to put together this platform. And thank you for extending the invitation to having me on the show. It is definitely an honor to come on to just share some information, life lessons that I've learned in fatherhood, right? It's been an amazing journey. But just a little bit about myself. As I mentioned, my name is Darren Hill. Originally from the beautiful island of Antigua. So you're probably hearing an accent and going, is he from Jamaica? Where is he from? So from the beautiful island of Antigua, it's one of the smaller islands in the Caribbean. If you're not aware, very close to Puerto Rico. So if you think of the Virgin Islands, one of those smaller islands in the Caribbean, that's where I'm from. So make sure you put it on your bucket list. We have 365 beaches a beach for every day of the year. So you would love it. It's tropical, it's beautiful. So you definitely want to do that, right? But professionally, what I do is I help coaches, authors, speakers, and trainers utilize social media to be able to grow and scale their business. So if you've been struggling to utilize social media to grow, if you've been looking to amplify your message and reach your target audience, my company, Smart Growth Marketing, which stands for Strategic Messaging at the Right Time, will help you put together the right strategy. Notice I said strategy. Right strategy for success in being able to connect with your audience, move them through the buying process so that you can generate more sales, more clients, enroll more people into your program. So I'm excited to be here today. I'm a husband, father of two amazing young men that I'm here to talk about today and celebrate today. One that's already in college, in his junior year in college, and one who just graduated high school. So I know what you guys are saying. Wait, you have two kids? right? So I get that all the time. And, as you learn more about me, fitness is one of the things that I really hold dear and I'm committed to. And so I think that's part of the success equation, right? So yes, I have two boys, been married for 17 years, and just doing what's necessary to build myself and my family and my business. And I'm just loving the opportunity to be here today to be of service to you.
Wow. And you know what? That was definitely my question. I just witnessed his son graduating from high school, and when we talked that day, there was this amazing picture that was posted on social media of Darren and his son embracing one another. It was like the proudest moment ever. I literally had a teardrop from my eye when I saw that picture of a father embracing his son. It was like so much pride, so much appreciation, like congratulations, this is my baby. I can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
But you're right, everyone is like, what? You have two children and you've been married for 17 years.
17 years.
Wow. I'm going to ask you one question first.
Yeah.
This show, honestly, is not only for the fathers and the sons, but it's for the mothers who has a family, who has that father, who has those children, even the at-risk kids. We're going to talk about that later, but you have two sons, and I want your definition of what having a son means to you.
Wow. Wow. Having a son is an opportunity. I believe that the journey of life is to rediscover ourselves as a champion, right? And it's an opportunity for me as a father to be able to impart a lot of lessons, a lot of, things that I've gone through into my son, to see them grow, to be able to have a seed that you plant and to nurture, an opportunity to nurture that seed and see them grow, and see yourself manifested in someone else. Because oftentimes your kids are a model of you. They take on a lot of your personality traits, and sometimes you get to learn about who you are through your children. So, the journey of being a father has been just amazing. So that's what I would say in answering that question.
I so love that. Angela, thank you so much for tuning in.
Yeah.
And that just, oh my goodness, you went biblical on me. You said to see your seed grow.
Yes.
And not only that, manifestation, to see a part of you that's manifesting.
Yes.
See, that's the audience clapping in the back.
Oh man, it's powerful. Thank you.
And I'm gonna skip because I know that I had given you some questions that one may ask a person, but as I think about the statistics of fatherhood and relationships, children that are growing up without their parents, Darren, I wanted to just remind Angela say, yes, I love that. I wanted to remind the audience of some things that I pulled up about the statistics on fatherless children, whereas children who grow up in a fatherless home have a greater risk of major challenges in their life. They participate in bullying, they participate in a lot of things that we don't want to see especially our sons participate in as they try to be of assistance in their home environment. We might want to believe that otherwise many of the children overcome the hardships that are associated with absent fathers. And I wanted you to speak just a little bit on that, because you actually have a program for boys, and that's boys only.
Well, yeah, so we definitely have a Confidence Factor Foundation, which we are just starting to support the youth and help to mentor youth. The overall program is for men, for entrepreneur men. It's called Confidence Factor. And it's a community where our goal and mission is to empower the lives of over 5 million men to be able to pursue their passion and their purpose by developing what we call your confidence factor. And so there is a segment of our organization where we are focused on youth development. and really helping young men develop three key areas. Number one, their self-mastery, really having them provide the tools and the resources they need to be able to grow. And lastly, creating a community of love. Yes, I said love, creating a community of love and support. We call it heart level, and making sure they have the necessary accountability to be able to reach their goals. So that's the overall organization. But to your point, it's so interesting that you talk about the statistics and fathers not being in the home. And I take that very, very seriously. I look around and I see the impact of what it means for people not to have their father. And, I don't know what it's like not to have a father, but here's what I know. I know very, 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 very young. I know the impact of what it means to have a father and what a father's impact is on someone's life. And when I was very young, probably in high school, I remember I was driving with my dad, and he was, at the time, I wasn't the best, student. I didn't do well in high school. I wasn't an A student. I was probably like a C and D student, believe it or not. And the time my dad said something. He said that I wish that Darren would get better marks like some of the other kids. So when he said that, for me, I made up a meaning. I made up a story. The story that I made was I wasn't enough, right? And that particular story literally affected the way how I went through life. And so I say that to say this: there's a tremendous impact, even when you have your father in your life. And I can't imagine sometimes what it means when you don't have a father. So when my dad said that, I created a story, and that story affected me going through life, and that was an impact, right? So I can only imagine what stories the kids who don't have a father are telling themselves and the kind of impact they're having. And so I use that story as a relatable way to try to put myself in a situation where, a lot of kids who don't have fathers, and the story that they tell themselves of not enough, the story they tell themselves of maybe feeling like they're not loved or not worthy, that affects them going through life. It affects how they show up in life. It affects how they do business. It affects how they relate to people. It affects how they see themselves. Because when my dad said it in the story I created, it affected how I saw myself. And so I can only imagine what it means not to have the presence, right, of a father, and the stories that kids are telling themselves, and how detrimental those stories now have caused kids to, show up in society, how they show up, how they feel about themselves, and ultimately how they live their life. And so it's so meaningful to have a presence of a father, bigger than we know, bigger than we know.
Wow, that was so powerful, very powerful. I want to ask you, you mentioned that you've been married for 17 years, and I have to tell you, ladies, Darren has a beautiful wife, so stop with the questions. She's phenomenal as well, and she's coming up next on one of my platforms. I've been trying to reach her, but she's untouchable right now. But Darren says, don't worry, I have the secret code of how to get to her.
Absolutely. I'll tap you in.
But this is it. Given the fact that you have been married successfully to a beautiful woman for 17 years, what are some of the secrets that every man's son should know about relationships? And because you've done it, and they see the love you have for your wife. So I'm going to move aside so you can answer that secret sauce question.
Secret sauce. I love it. Well, first of all, just know that the journey is always going to be under construction, right? There's always going to be a learning opportunity, the growth that you're going to have. And you have to embrace that. You have to embrace that your relationship is not going to be perfect. There's no perfect relationship. It's not going to be easy. But here's what I think is so critical is, number one, you want to learn about who you are and learn about who your partner is. I think it was Stephen Covey who says that you must seek first to understand and then to be understood. So one of the things that is so important across the board in relationships, whether it be in business or in marriage, is that you really want to get to know what is important and really dear to the person that you're connecting with. So one of the things in my marriage that we did, and you guys may have heard about this before, is called the love languages, right? You take the 5 love languages. So learning about your partner's love language, and this could be a business partner or your spouse, learning about their love language allows for the space of getting to know them. And being able to embrace who they are and what they need for their emotional cup to be filled. Because see, when we start a relationship, oftentimes we come into that relationship when everything looks great and everything is rosy, right? You start this relationship, you got the butterflies and everything. And at that point of connection, you're doing all of the right things, right? You're on the phone and, hey, no, you hang up. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. You hang up, right? And you're doing those things naturally. And then as you go through the journey of life together, all of a sudden, things start changing up a little bit, right? You get busy, life gets hard, and then, you stop doing those things and catering to those person's emotional needs. And at that point in time, that's where relationships break down, whether it be business relationships and or personal relationships. And so we had to recognize that in our own relationship. And so I think it's important in your own relationship, find ways to understand your partner, get to know what their triggers are, get to understand them from the traumas that they've had and why they show up a certain way. Because a lot of times in my relationship, I was doing things very unconsciously. I wasn't aware of how the relationship with my dad or relationship when I was young affected how I was showing up in the relationship. And I made a lot of mistakes. And so you have to recognize that you will make those mistakes, that the road is always under construction. And, as Stephen Covey said, to seek first to understand, then to be understood. And I think as long as you are continuously filling that person's emotional cup, then you're going to find that there is a management of that relationship that happens that leads to longevity. So that's really, really key.
I hope you guys are writing these down. First of all, he gave you this book.
Yes, you got it.
This book.
You got it. You got it.
The 5 love languages. And honestly, I'm touching and agreeing with you because I've been married over 29 years and I still find myself going back to this handy tool. So it's good that you brought that up because one of my girlfriends from way back in high school said reading is so fundamental, and it's good that you gave that resource to go to that particular book and just understand their emotions, men. Isn't that great for a father to tell his sons, you got to understand a woman's emotions, man?
Absolutely. 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 That's critical. That's critical to understand that. And also to, communication and managing expectations is two other things I didn't mention. I think it's so important. Oftentimes we have these conversations going on in our head, right? We have this vision and this picture of what we expect our spouse to do, and we don't communicate that thing. So we operate as though the person is supposed to be a mind reader and know exactly what we're thinking, our hopes, aspirations, and how we saw the day when we are at work in the morning and how it should look like when we come home, right? And the reality is, if you're not communicating what you expect, then you create breakdowns in your relationship. And so one of the things that we are big on, and we didn't do this right in the beginning, this is later on in our marriage that we really started to be more effective, and we're still working on it, is learning how to manage that expectation and communicate with each other about what our needs are. It's so critical because if you don't do that, you're going to have breakdowns.
Wow. So we have Bessie, Pastor Apostle Bessie Brigham that has joined, and Dr. Donald Tolderson is here. He's laughing and he's laughing at the things that you are saying. I got me in tears too, Donald, but I honestly can attest to communication is so important. It's definitely not, it's like, we have to teach our children community and communication prior to them even walking out the door. Yeah. And so what type of imprints are you expecting to leave on your children? Well, they're men now, that will carry on long after you are gone. What are some of the things that you have poured into them and you hope that they will be with them for the rest of their life, long after you're gone, that were passed down to their sons, your kids?
Yes. That's a great question. And, one of the things I had to recognize in my own life and many other men's life, and just people in general, that as parents, we don't get a blueprint, right? My father didn't have a blueprint for what it means to have a father. In fact, his father wasn't really in his life. So he did the best he could do, right? So, it was a blessing that God gave me the wisdom to recognize that. and be intentional about sharing with my sons what it means to be a man and what it means to be a father. What is your goal? And I have these conversations with my boys all the time. What is your responsibility to your kids? What is your responsibility? How should you show up? And what should you be passing down? What is the legacy that you need to leave? And so I think one of the things I want them to know is, what it means to show up as a man and what it means to be impactful with your kids, and how do you communicate? How do you share with them the things that are meaningful to their own life? I want them to have an imprint of self-development, and that self-awareness and self-love are critical. Self-awareness and self-love, to me, are the foundation of everything success in their life. If they understand who they are, if they have self-awareness of who they are, and they have self-love, then the world can't make them small. They'll show up with their shoulders back, their chest high, and know who they are and go through life successfully. I want them to know that as a critical foundation for who they are. Absolutely.
And you say that with such confidence, a
Oh, man.
great smile, and it's intentional.
Absolutely.
Yes, today, it's like this year, for the past 2 years, women have been stepping up in society for our men. This is Betty speaking. And
Mhm.
I believe that we're stepping up for a reason, because we're tired of seeing our men being broken. We're tired of seeing our men being torn down. We're tired of so many things that has been taking place in the media or on social media, to the point where we're taking control temporarily just to pass the baton back to them. What do you have to say about that in relations to your sons?
Dr. Betty, first of all, I can appreciate your sentiment in sharing that. And, it's something that I have thought about really intentionally. I've looked at society, I've looked at the family structure, I've looked at how we operate within the Black community and just families in general across every ethnic group. And, I think it's so critical that, we as men start the process intentionally to change the narrative. I definitely love the fact and appreciate the fact that there's women empowerment and the women are being positioned to really help us as kings to reposition ourselves in society. And I also take on a personal responsibility to make sure that in my family, I'm doing the things necessary to make sure that my boys, have a blueprint, that they understand who they are, that they understand how they need to show up in society, and more so, how they need to treat our queens, right? Because for so long, we don't have a blueprint being passed down. We don't have the grandfathers of the day that have taught us the lessons that we need. And so much of how we learn about what a man means or what a woman means is from the media and from every other source that doesn't provide us with anything that is enriching, that is cultural, that teaches us the traditions of what it means to be a successful man in society. And so I'm so happy that there is a spiritual movement in the women to help reposition us men. But at the same time, for me, I've seen it, I understand it, and I am taking on a personal responsibility to make sure that my fingerprint is felt. My impact is felt in just impacting the two boys that I have, and also impacting every other young man that I meet. So I often call people champions. That's the word that I use. If I see you, you're champion. Hey champ, that's the word I use, and I intentionally do that to make sure that I'm speaking life and size into the people that I connect with, and it's also a reinforcement of who I am as well. Right?
I'm not messing with him. You guys, I am not messing with Darren today. I'm telling you, he is a man of faith. He believes in what he's doing. And I honestly love the fact that he's setting the example not only for his children, but his children's children. You heard him mention the word blueprint. You also heard him say that his father, there was no blueprint before. Some fathers don't even know how to become a father. And when he said that, I want to know, I want to know, what was it like when your wife, when that first child, what was that feeling when she told you or came home? I don't know where you were. I'm pregnant. We're pregnant. What was what was that like for you?
Wow. So this is an interesting part of the story for me. And my first son was actually, I wasn't use the word adopted. I'm more of a stepdad. And so I, was introduced to the Kari very, 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 very early. Uh, and I became a father very, very early and took on that responsibility very, very early in life. So I never got the news that, I'm pregnant, but I certainly developed a relationship early on with my wife and the Kari, and took on the role of being a father very, very early on in my life. But I will say it was a great opportunity for me to do so. It was a great opportunity for me to step up in that role and be a father and take on the responsibility, because I already knew from since I was a little kid, how I would show up as a man in a relationship, how I would show up as a father. I wanted to, do better than my father. Not saying that my dad didn't do a great job, not that he didn't do the best he could do based on what he was given, but I already knew I wanted to be there. And there were moments in my life where he showed up really, really big that made that impact on me. So, it's a great question. I know it's a shocker for you because it's the first time you're hearing this. And probably a shocker for the audience as well, because on top of that, you're saying you have kids like in college, but yeah. So I never got that opportunity to hear that. I heard it with my second son, but my first son, it was really about me stepping up and just taking on the role of being a dad.
And you know what is, it wasn't even a shocker. I don't even know how that question came about. It was basically, it's like, because you're so full of love, joy, and
Yeah,
happiness, and
yeah,
you have all those beatitudes about you. So
yeah.
honestly, just about every father that I've interviewed this month thus far, when they share with me that, well, honestly, here's the truth, but that is still amazing that you were able to play the role.
Yeah.
How, and then it's still the same thing. It's still D. What did we say earlier?
Four Ds. All of our names start with Ds. The Kari, Davin, Darren, and Davina. So all these 4 Ds. And quite frankly, it's kind of difficult for me to answer the question, only because I don't even see it that way. That's my son, right? And so
Yes.
yeah, we're talking about very early. You're talking about 6 weeks old that was introduced. So for me, it's my son, and so I love him all the way. I've been there all the way, and so it's no different. And so it's hard for me to even answer that question to some degree.
And
Like,
that was it. It's like, we speak of blended families all the time. And one of my guests this month, if you've listened to my show on the Bashani Radio this past Wednesday, you would get to hear about a father. And I'm speaking to the listeners now, that talks about his children. They're mine. I don't care who they're, the person, but these are mine.
yeah,
I gave life to them. And that's what we need, just like you said earlier, just to show up in a child's life,
yeah,
and be that parent. I have birthed over 5,000 kids, and I call them all mine. Physically gave birth to them, no, but I rebirthed them from I wasn't even in their household like you were. You have a child, your oldest son is in college now, but
yeah,
you were there from the time he was 6 weeks old, and that's important to children. Like we talked about the statistics of a parent being fatherless. Donald has a comment there. I don't know if you can read it or not, but
let's see. Okay, I was checking to see. Yeah, it says he says they might not carry my blood, but you're my blood. Yeah, that's a good one. I love that. Yeah, and that's so true. It's very true. And use the word you're breathing life. That is such a great word. Breathing life, or statement, breathing life. That's me. I'm somebody who breathes life into, whoever. And so that is my role as a father, is breathing life and breathing size into my boys, so that they can take on the world and show up big.
That is so amazing. So you have given us so many nuggets today. I honestly love the programs that you are working with there. You talk about you being like fitness and health is a very important component in your life. I tried to keep up with you one day and I was like, I'll forget it. I'll catch them on the replay. But you are. You
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You are. I just want you to share again some of your platforms that you have, and then just talk about how your family is involved with those platforms.
Yeah. So in terms of confidence factor, as I mentioned before, that is a purpose, driven endeavor. As an entrepreneur, I've gone through defining moments in my life. There's moments where I was going through depression. I was going through feelings of wanting to withdraw from society, all because, when I first lost my business, the mistake that I made was who I was all attached to the business. Who my value was attached to the business. And so when I lost that business, I kind of lost who I was. And that was the opportunity to really rediscover myself. But on that journey, there really wasn't a community, really a platform for me to plug into. There really wasn't any brotherhood around me to say, let's keep going, let's keep pushing. So it took me a long time to, recover from that loss. And so what Confidence Factor hopes to do is to make sure that we have a platform for men, so that when they're going through that journey of life, when life is giving them that uppercuts and jabs, that we can support them to keep showing up, keep getting back up for the next round of life. And that's what it's about. And so if you go to facebook.com/confidence factor, you learn more about our community. We have Confidence Factor talks every Tuesday at 7 p.m. And I would say the way that my family is involved with that is, it's an extension of what I did with my boys. I constantly am, being intentional about making sure that they're reading the right books, that they are learning the life skills, and having the resources that they need to be able to succeed. And the things that I didn't learn, right? Whether it be financial literacy, whether it be communication skills, whatever that is that they need to be empowered, so they can live a very, very productive and fruitful life. I extend that through what we do with Confidence Factor. Okay. So, it's something that I've always been very intentional about with my boys. And so it's an extension of what I've been doing with boys within the community of men, of businessmen. And other than that, should I stop there? Should I continue?
No, go ahead, because I'm loving it.
Awesome. Awesome. And in my professional career, like I said, my company is called Smart Growth Marketing, and we help coaches, speakers, authors, and influencers who are looking to leverage Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We use the advertising platform to be able to help them to amplify their message, so that they can connect with their target audience and then take them through a process where they become a client for their business. So it's just been an exciting journey. And what I'm doing now today is also because of the transitions that I went with my first business. I remember the moments of, after going through my transitional moment of being a recluse, starting to study things like psychology and starting to study a lot more marketing. And that really set me back up to get into what I'm doing today. So that was my defining moment in my life that really helped me to start to peel the onions away of my life, dissect who I was, really confront my traumas and confront the stories that didn't serve me, the limiting beliefs that I had. And, God gave me that gift. That defining moment was a gift that God gave me. I think it was Willie Jolly who said that, a setup is nothing more than a setback is nothing more than a setup for a comeback. So I look at it through that lens. I look at it through the lens of Steve Jobs, who said that you can never connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. I'm connecting those dots looking backwards and seeing how all those moments in my life are really helped me to become who I am today, to be able to share these words, to be able to share this insight, to be able to be the father that I am today. It's really, really a great opportunity that I had back then to show up as I am doing today.
I just dropped the mic. I just literally dropped it. I honestly applaud you for all
Thank
that
you.
you're doing. I I want to reach out to those fathers that are saying, that may be tuning in and listening in, and has have a question like, okay, so you have a wonderful connection with your boys. You are doing an amazing thing with your wife. Yes, I heard you mention the five love books. And what can I do if I can't connect with my child yet? How do I learn how to just do some of the things that you are doing? How do I get started?
Well, here's one thing I will say. I, I I tell I learned this a long time ago that trying to tell someone what to do can be difficult, right? People already have certain perceptions and beliefs. Your child already has a certain way they view you, and so oftentimes the way that I connect with my boys is to my own stories and my own life. Sometimes we try to tell our kids, okay, do this, and do that. So what I do now is I try to tell them a story about, like just recently my son was doing his SAT, and I told him about the importance of persevering through failures, right? And so I told him that, hey, in high school I repeated twice, and we talked through that journey, what that looked like for me. So I try to show up as someone who I can find ways to connect with them in whatever they're dealing with, and share your own struggles, share your own journey, share why, and also share why you're telling them why you're telling them this. Oftentimes we try to teach our kids lessons, but we don't tell them why. We don't tell them our hopes and our dreams. We don't tell them why that we're fearful, right? The reason I'm teaching you this is because I'm fearful. I'm afraid that you're going to go out in life and be just like who I was. I'm fearful that you're going to live a life small. I'm fearful that you're not going to be able to unleash your greatness. The things that I hope for myself, the things that I wish somebody would have told me, I want you to learn these things because I'm fearful. I want to see you succeed. It's like tell them the why, and tell them stories about your own journey. Tell them the things that you dealt with your father. Tell them about the relationships that you had with your brother, and why it didn't work, or why it did work, and the impacts of that, and how things cost you. Like I teach my boys that because I didn't show up in life, because I allowed fear to stop me from showing up, that it cost me over $4 million over the past years because I allowed the limitations and people's opinion and all this stuff to stop me. I'm raw and authentic and truthful with them about my fears and my insecurities and my self-doubts and the inner jerk conversations that I have. And the fact that, you're always going to deal with failure. There's no such thing as being, they call it, getting to a point of having no fear, like fearless. No, you're always going to confront fear every time you deal with something that's new. I have those real conversations with them. So I tell them why, number one. Why am I telling you this? And I tell them stories of my own life, and I tell them my fears, I tell them my insecurities, I tell them why they need to show up that way.
Unbelievable. I
Right.
love that. And I promise you that question, that answer alone would bless so many lives. I see Dr. Peggy out here. Donald is still with us. Angela is still with us. She's a social worker, and she says this information is going to be so valuable to some of my clients. And like I said before, you're hearing nothing but the real truth here. I can't pinch Darren from where I am, but I promise you he is live and he's living that genuine story. Like the fairy tale book, The Princess. This is not a fairy tale. So
Oh my goodness.
he's living, walking and living proof that things can work if you work at them. If there's a problem, you've heard it throughout his conversation. If there's a problem in a relationship, your job is to solve the problem, come up with the solution. He didn't say that verbatim, but that's definitely what he means. You know, his meaning of working through challenges with your sons or even your daughters, and being in a relationship with a loving wife. He said it wasn't easy. It's a construction. Is that the word you use,
Yes,
construction?
yes. Life is always under construction. It's always under construction.
Yes, it's always under construction. Life is always under construction. I can't wait to read that book because I know he's about to write it, honestly. But I wanted to see if there are any questions out there. If so, you can drop your questions in the feed, and if we don't get to answer them now, I will make sure Darren get the questions, and he will be able to answer them later. But like I said, he's a father and a husband. He has an amazing wife who's doing amazing things. He has amazing sons who's doing amazing things. And I don't think this is the end of his life just yet. Now that his son has graduated from high school, I believe that this is only leaving more room for the grandkids, maybe because they're so young.
Oh yeah, too early for that. Too early for
He says it's too early. He said it's too early.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And I'm not hoping. I just love kids. So, like I said, that picture that I didn't get a chance to show the picture that I received today, but I did post it. It's an amazing picture of he and his lovely family. If you guys are on Betty Speaks Life, you'll get to see that photo of his family. And I just want to remind you that strong people are not simply born, they resurrect by sharing imprints they generate throughout their life journey. So that's what Darren is explained to us today. He's come here to share with you his truth. And you have to remember that strength doesn't come from what you can do, it comes from overcoming the things you once thought you couldn't. So I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in to with us today for a Father's Day special. And I promise you, this is not the last Father's Day special that we'll be having this month. And we will have Darian back again because he and his wife, because they have another platform that I want the world to know about. So listen, if you are filled with this has been that show that has been filled with hope and ambition, faith, and inner strength, plus covering a variety of genuine life-changing topics designed to encourage listeners that are worldwide. So again, I am wishing Darian a happy early Father's Day,
Thank you.
honestly.
Thank you.
And I can't see if there are any questions out there. I do see Angela has made a comment. Do you see any that are there?
I just Angela said that families need to know how healthy families live and cope, and that's so
Mm,
true. I agree. I agree with that. I agree with that. So much of what's in the media and so much of what we see is the negative, and oftentimes we don't get a chance to see, how families are really thriving, right? And what are they doing to manage that relationship? What are they doing to be successful with their family and their kids? And so often there's an idea and these perceptions that exist that, wow, in our communities, that's an anomaly, that doesn't happen, or that's not normal. And so, for me, I take on the responsibility of trying to, not be a part of the statistic, but represent a different narrative. And so I think it's so true, and that's why it's so important for me to show up. That's why it's so important for me to share my story, and that's why it's so important for you to share your story, and get out there and be a gift of value to the people that you're meant to serve. So thank you so much for that question, or that statement. If I
Yes. Donald said this has been a great show, and it's good to see brothers that are making an impact that are worldwide. And honestly, it is. It's time to stop talking about the negative things that our brothers are doing, and then shine the light on those that are making a difference in the lives of our other brothers, of our sons and daughters that are coming up behind us. One person said to me this week, we have more years behind us than we do before us. So why not share, those positive things that are going on in the world, so those that are coming behind us can share that as well. I'm going to leave the floor open for you for any last takeaways, because you have been on fire today, and I know that one is going to would like to know how they can reach out to you.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And again, and thank you so much, Betty, for again the opportunity to share. I feel so honored When you go through life's journey and you have had obstacles, you've had moments of questioning your own self, and then you get an opportunity like this. You reflect on life and you look at those moments, and you're like, yes, they were worth it. Like, they always say things happen for a reason. And I like to say that things happen for a reason, but the reason they happen is to give you an opportunity to be of service, right? For you to learn something and also to be of service. So I get to be in that moment of service, and it's so fruitful. It's such a blessing, because for me, I'm in my fulfilled moment when I'm sharing myself, when I'm allowing God to express to me. Desire is God seeking expression. And so this desire to share is God just seeking to be able to be a presence and share value. So I'm honored to be a vessel for him. And I would just say that, my quote for today, I like to leave people with a quote, and it comes from Winston Churchill. And he says that, success is the ability to go from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. Let me say that again. Success is the ability to go from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. And it's something that I teach my boys. I said, listen, the game of life is set up that way. That's how the game of life is set up. Your growth is going to be based upon everything that you've gone through, the lessons that you've learned. And Andy Enriquez likes to say, hey, when you lose, don't lose the lesson, right? When you lose, don't lose the lesson. So you're going to have these growth moments. I call them growth moments, these obstacles, these mistakes, and see them as that. Have the reframing of things that happen in your life as growth moments, right? Success is the ability to go from failure to failure, those growth moments, without losing your enthusiasm. Because if you lose your enthusiasm, you go through moments like I went through, where you have moments of stopping, you get lost instead of keep moving forward. So I try to teach my boys that at the end of the day, life, the game of life is set up that way. It's set up to have these growth moments, because what you go through allows you to become bigger. Those moments of obstacles, those pains, those transitions, they allow for a space of growth. And so I wanted to leave that with you, because one of my favorites, and it's one that I teach my boys all the time. I always say, if I can get them to just get that one thing, make that imprint, which in many respects, I believe they have, because I've said it so many times, then I would have felt like a great success as a father. But lastly, in terms of how you can reach me, certainly connect with me on Facebook. I love to connect and build relationships. So reach out to me, send me a friend request. If you are a coach, you're a speaker, you're an author, you've been trying to leverage social media to try to grow and increase your visibility and be strategic about how you impact and build relationships with your audience and generate more customers, so you can do more of the things you want to do. You want to spend more time with your family. You want to be able to start that foundation you want to start. You want to be able to, travel more. You want to live life fulfilled. Then I'm here to serve you. Definitely connect with me on Facebook. My company's called Smart Growth Marketing. You can also connect with me on Facebook.com/smart, SMART, growth marketing. That's my website as well, Smart Growth Marketing. And I'd love to hear from you. Send me a DM, let's chat, let's connect. If you're interested in our Confidence Factor groups, if you know businessmen who are looking to be part of a community where there's a safe space to have what we call heart level conversations that lead to transformation. They're looking to be a part of a space of people who think of abundance, not scarcity and limitation. They're looking for a space of collaboration. They're looking for a space of accountability. They're looking for a space of transformation and love. Then have them join Confidence Factor. That's Facebook.com/Confidence Factor. And there's also a group called the Confidence Man Cave. So with that said, Dr. Betty, I am so excited. So excited. Thankful and grateful.
Yes, now you all see why he's here today. I honestly want to thank you again for saying yes. This is a hidden secret that one needs to connect to, and like he said, he is so genuine and passionate about everything that he does. You see his bio on my page, and this I would definitely get his information out if you don't have it. But he is honestly, truly a man that is living the four components of life, and he's implementing those four components not only in his household, but worldwide. And again, he said it over and over again. He's all about financial literacy. He's all about professional and personal development. And then you can tell just by listening to him, he's also about spiritual growth. I heard it all in his conversation. So love you to pieces, young man. Can't wait to meet the wifey, um, and continue to go forth and do great things. Be blessing.
Thank you. Thank you.